Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Or whatever time you're listening.
And you're listening to...
Listen very carefully. The podcast for people who love all things Allo'Allo.
So, let's begin.
I'm Kim Hartman, and I played the part of Helga.
I'm Guy Siner, and I played Lieutenant Gruber.
And I am Richard Gibson, and I played Herr Flick.
Ow!
Right, watch the birdie. And off we go like a herd of turtles.
And now, Kim, since it's your kitchen, I think you should launch this episode, which is...
It's season 2, episode 9. It's actually Allo'Allo series 9. Series...
Did we ask her to do this?
No,
we didn't.
No, well, you shouldn't have asked me anything. You see, I was quite happy just
We
sitting
were doing
here,
so well.
doing nothing, and now you've wanted me to say something intelligent. It's called Watch the Birdie.
It's Pod Series 2, Episode 9, and we're not going to discuss what the BBC call it, other than Watch the Birdie. Watch the Birdie.
Season 5, episode 9.
Don't you start.
I was hoping we wouldn't get into this. I really was.
Down the numbering wormhole.
Down the wormhole, exactly.
Yeah.
So did anybody have any observations at all about this?
Well, I have to say, I don't see how it's season 5, episode
Don't
9.
start.
No, okay.
Okay, out with it. Get it off your chest.
The two numbers have never gone. How have we suddenly got Pod episode 9 and Allo'Allo series 5 episode 9? We've always been sort of one digit up, number-wise.
No, because we used to number the pods right from the beginning. So this would be number 33 or something like that.
Oh,
Viewers and listeners, isn't this fascinating?
We had a hiatus between the first and second season.
Yeah.
And when the second season began, we started calling them S2.
Yes.
And so believe it or not,
I've just noticed that there's a camera right in front of me on the master.
Well, I thought it looked rather good, actually. A nice
And it covered his face.
I couldn't care less. Would you like to just check that I'm on my camera?
Yeah, no, I mean, just in case anybody apart from Kim is interested.
Yes, you're right.
We're on to the 9th episode of the second series, unbelievably enough.
Yeah.
Maybe we should explain why we get them done so quickly. Because we come here, we have 2 days in Kim's kitchen and we do 2 episodes the first night. And then we often have some Prosecco and also gin.
Yes.
And then the next day we have croaky voices and then we do the next 2.
Yes, and feel a bit fragile.
And
That's
are
right.
completely exhausted.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you tried to get out of doing one the last time, didn't you? Oh, why don't we just all stop now?
Well, I believe the reason for that was because you had let your battery go flat. Or no, you'd got so many photos on your phone that you couldn't load something on. Anyway, it all took too long and was very boring.
Yeah, that's right. Right, so anyway, thoughts about Watch the Birdie?
I enjoyed Watch the Birdie very much, actually. I knew I was going to enjoy it from the word go when Carmen came on with a bucket on her head.
Yes, that was funny.
Because the communist resistance were after her. And she ducked every time there was any kind of noise. That was wonderful.
But there is something just comical about somebody in their head in a bucket.
Yes.
I mean...
Yes, or a foot in a
the
bucket actually works as well.
Yes.
Buckets are funny.
Do you think that's what it is?
Buckets are funny.
Buckets are funny.
And then she looked very Spanish when she took it off. She had a sort of flamenco outfit.
Yeah, I think it was rollers in her hair, wasn't
yeah, but
it?
it looked
sort of looked, yes.
Because we were always saying, come on, are you really Spanish or not? And she'd go, no, I'm Canadian.
With a name like Carmen.
And then she'd come on with the dangly earrings looking just like she's about to go into a flamenco.
Yeah.
But she gets better and better, doesn't she?
She does.
The hand on hip gag we enjoyed enormously, didn't we? Because we knew that what it was going to lead to.
It was coming a mile down the road, a hand upon a hip. You just know where it's going. And sooner or later, not straight away, in came
Gruber. Hello. With the hand on the hip.
Yeah.
And I didn't need to say anything. All I needed to do was clock the fact that René had his hand on his hip rather suggestively.
Yes.
And so I did the same thing myself.
And you did it so
looked at
naturally.
him.
It's as if
It
you've
was
done it
just
before.
as if I've done it every day of my life. But then the gag was kind of topped because although
No, don't go into that bit because
Okay.
when someone else does it, because it's quite fun to
Yes,
build
okay.
up to it. And then we also, the actor who does it, we have to introduce him because
Well,
it's somebody quite famous.
I was about to, but
know.
never mind. We'll do that.
I think we
later.
should wait till we get to that bit, then it'll be
Okay.
much more exciting.
Okay.
In the back room, I noticed, and I bet neither of you noticed,
Oh, what is it?
that Mimi's berry was about 3 times larger than Michelle of the Resistance's berry. So she had this enormous big
Yes.
black berry on her head.
That's so
notice.
true.
That must have been such a. I mean,
That
I
must be a
suppose.
costume thing.
I was
doesn't
going to
it?
say.
I
I
mean,
suppose that was Christian, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because, you know,
To make her look smaller.
I know. I've got this diminutive actress.
Yes.
I'm going to do
Make her
my
look
own,
even smaller.
My own little
Like
joke.
with the candle, do you remember that?
Yes,
So-
exactly.
So he must have had to specially manufacture
Yeah.
an enormous berry.
Did I spy Gruber's closet in
Well,
the
you
back
did
room?
say, is that the closet you came out of?
I think it is.
I think it might have doubled from Gruber's bedroom
could be
in,
two.
in the chateau.
Yeah.
Yes, it could possibly be.
But that's a sharp-eyed set watch, isn't it? Are there points for that, or is there a forfeit?
Kirsten had a meltdown.
Oh, yeah.
And-
Michelle of the Resistance had
Her
a
Ted Chi
meltdown.
phase
It's
is still
always
going
good.
on, isn't it?
Yes.
Her Ted Chi phase.
Yes.
And beautifully. Again,
Oh, yeah.
again, it was so finely judged. You know, don't you realise how much, you know, how hard I have to work, and you're spoiling everything.
And the prosthetics maker who made
yes.
who made the false arm.
And the nun who bicycled all the way from Paris at great inconvenience to herself.
I mean, it was the way that Gordon wiggled the rubbery fingers that made me laugh a lot as
Yes, and couldn't find his little knob.
well. That's right. Kirsten had a sort of costume watch, didn't she?
Did she?
She was wearing a sort of fancy scarf, because normally you don't see anything.
She was wearing a coloured scarf.
Yes.
Rather an elegant silk scarf under her mackintosh.
She wasn't pregnant, was she? I was just wondering if it was
a silk
just sort of-
scarf wouldn't have
Take
Well,
the
helped.
eye
I've got
away.
to take the eye away from anything else.
Oh,
Yes. Well, when we get her on, we'll ask her.
Yeah,
We'll ask her, yes.
yeah.
She probably went to Savile Row. Maybe she was in the right-hand column and behaved. So they took her down to Savile Row to get a nice scarf.
An Hermes
Yes.
scarf.
Yeah.
And talking of set watch, goodness me, the conference room in the chateau, and indeed the eaves above in which you and von
Yes.
Schmalhausen appeared, were
Yes.
so elaborate.
I think that was so big that they didn't do it in front of the audience. I think that set the roofs and the rafters
I
and all
mean, the
that.
risen rafters, yeah, I'm sure it
Yeah.
wasn't. I'm sure that
I
was
think
round the
it
back.
was
But
round the back,
but
as
the big-
usual.
No, it was pre-recorded because we were in the big sound studio, weren't we?
yeah, I think
Big-
the
pre-recorded.
map room was in front of an audience.
Oh, it was,
Oh, yes.
definitely,
I
yes.
remember.
Yes.
Before we get to that, can I just give a shout out to the tailor? Did anybody spot who the tailor was? The actor.
No, you did.
You did, and you named him.
His name is Tim Brown. And he had a few really good episodes early on in the prison war camp
Yes.
with Martin Sadler.
Yes.
Do you remember? And the two of them were playing British Airmen.
Yes. Didn't he
And,
have a lovely chunky cream sweater at one point?
Yes.
A Fair sweater.
Yes.
Not fair.
And a sort of flying jacket. And
Yeah.
And was he one of the people who played cricket?
Oh, yes. But he and Martin Sadler, earlier on, had a lovely 2 or 3 run episode of the prison of war camp when the airmen tunnelled in. And Sam Kelly was sprung.
Yes.
Yes.
And they were the 2 main prison of war camp.
Yeah.
So he must have been rewarded for being good by being brought back.
He brought back as
Yeah.
a tailor.
Which meant that Paul Cooper, who normally plays the tailor, had to go and carry out duties as London Calling.
Yes.
Because normally
So
it would have
he
been
must
Paul
have
Cooper.
been- Yes. So he must have been London Calling.
Yes.
He was
Yeah,
London Calling,
yeah.
yes, I noticed him.
Which meant that Philip Kendall had to stay at home.
Yes.
Because we often had Philip Kendall too.
This October, we will be appearing live in our Listen Very Carefully stage show
In Guildford?
Salford?
and Shrewsbury.
For booking details, go to fane.co.uk.
That's F for Fanny
A for Alphonse.
N for Nouvion.
and E for Engelbert.
Oh, there was the classic cellar scene about the getting married and all that.
There was,
Oh,
and the wonderful veil, which was really more or less a sort of a lampshade.
It was a lampshade, wasn't it? We were
Stuck on
made
your
out
head.
of lace and cobwebs.
Yes.
Black,
And completely opaque.
completely.
And I loved the way it was still for a moment, and then there was just a little movement. You just knew what she was thinking. But it did contain one of my favourite lines in the whole show. You were coming to have your
My
wedding,
wedding
dress,
dress fitted.
and you said, "Black leather," something like a
Yes.
black leather wedding dress. What did you expect? White leather?
Yes, it's a very good line, that.
And why was I in SS uniform? Heflick's not in the SS.
I was rather wondering about that because you're Gestapo, you're not army at all.
No.
And yet you're in an SS uniform to get married. I didn't understand.
Well, I suppose
that.
when you're Heinrich Himmler's nephew, you can dress as you
You can
please.
wear anything you like.
I suppose so.
Yeah, I hadn't even noticed that.
No, because you were too busy looking at your lampshade.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And getting on with my job.
Yeah,
to
well,
pierce
that's
with
true.
the lampshade.
Getting on with your work. Well, there was lots of plot, wasn't there?
Yes.
Because we were saying in earlier ones that they were starting to
That
get
it just sort
tired
of
and-
plateaued out and sort of went round in a little bit of a circle, but this seemed to have quite a bit of information going on.
It really caught fire, and they set things up so beautifully, didn't they?
Yeah.
And the map room, and
Watch the Birdie. It was all about taking this photograph.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was what the whole episode was about.
Oh, one thing that I did want to say, which I was rather impressed about, and this is me being impressed about myself, was that,
well, someone's got to be.
someone's got to be, was that I managed to strip and say my lines at the same time.
You got them off quick, didn't you?
I talked,
your
I
clothes.
talked and moved.
You
Yeah.
did.
Talked and stripped.
And stripped.
It wasn't
Isn't
yeah,
that rather
talking
like
and moving.
real life somehow, strangely?
talking and stripping.
That
I
more or less
love the
what
way-
you do.
Within 30 seconds of the scene beginning, your clothes were coming off, and 30 seconds later, they were all off. You'd had plenty of time to practice, of course. Oh no, it was brilliant. It was brilliant, and it was funny and sexy.
Yeah.
No wonder she got so many fans. Although, when we strip down to our undies, we don't get the
Nobody
same sort
cares
of
at all.
fan mail at all.
But you know, an awful lot of my fans were little girls. I had a massive amount of adolescent girls, I suppose, really. Lots of those, and lots of prisoners and soldiers.
Oh, yes.
The prisoners and soldiers one
You
expects.
can understand, but yes, that was, yeah.
That reminds me, when we were on tour, I used to get these letters, and they were really saucy, and they were little playlets, and they were all about Flick and Helga and what went on under the bedclothes. It was really saucy. And when I got to the stage door when we were in Wimbledon or somewhere, and this little girl, who was about 11, and she looked like little orphan Annie with curly hair, and she said, "I'm Linda." Linda? Who? You know, the one who writes the plays. I thought she'd be like a 30-year-old woman. And I said, "I don't know if you should be writing letters like this to people on the telly."
Does
I
your
said-
mummy know what you
And,
do?
and did you not come to the show with anybody? And she came on her own to see the show, came to the stage door,
Oh, how sweet.
and then I said, "I really don't think you should be writing letters like this to grown-up actors. I don't think it's a very good idea. I think maybe you should transfer your affection to someone else." Anyway,
And she did, probably.
she did.
To me, no doubt.
No, a week later, she wrote to me and said, "I took your advice. I have transferred my affections to Michael Crawford, playing the Phantom of the Opera." Also quite keen on imprisoning people, wasn't he?
And considerably older than you.
Yeah,
Well, that
but
wasn't the
it was
point,
the sort
it
of
was-
same type, isn't
Yes,
it? She was
sort of sellers and
sinister, and you've
control.
got a limp, you've got a scarred face.
Yeah,
And both of you had played the organ in a rather sinister fashion.
yes. But she probably grew up to be a sort of erotic novelist, or,
Yeah.
40 Shades of Grey type stuff. Who knows? Or maybe she just went on to be a school teacher and taught geography. But it was funny. But yeah, so your fans are little girls.
Yeah, in fact, two of them. I've kept in touch with one of them who lives in Nottingham, and she's
50.
grown up with
No longer a little girl.
with a family and a husband. Well, obviously, husband, family, and whenever I'm in Nottingham at the Theatre Royal or anything, she comes and sees me. It's lovely. And there's another one who I kept in touch with who lives in Australia, so I don't see her.
And what is it about you that they like? Do you have any idea? Is it the character or is it you?
It's the character. I think it's the character, yeah.
I mean, generally, women actually like you as a person, don't they? I mean, you have as many female fans as men, but you're saying they're fans of the character.
I think so. I think most people are fans of the character rather than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you do have a lot of people who like you as Kim as well, don't you? Women
My friends.
seem to like you.
Your friends.
Just my friends.
No, but when we do signings, women say, "You're so beautiful, it cheers me up to look at you." Don't they?
Do they?
They do.
I know men say that.
I know, but also women do. They don't seem to feel threatened by you. Men feel threatened by you.
Well, maybe that's it.
Mothballs.
Mothballs.
I've got some mothballs.
Mothballs!
I've got some mothballs. I love.
And again, you knew where it was going to go.
Yeah.
I have mothballs.
And you knew who was going to get the final shot, of
I
course.
have mothballs.
Fanny. What? Very nice.
And the flashing knobs. Quite nice to see the knobs flashing.
We haven't seen them for a while.
No,
have
we haven't. But you always know, don't you? Because they're glass as opposed to
Yes.
brass when they're not going to flash.
Yes, and they're a different shape, aren't they?
Mm.
Oh, and the chamber pot was a classic sort of
Not
anticlimactic.
that chamber. Not that
Well,
one.
it was lovely because
So
he
realistic.
sniffed it and
Yeah.
all sorts of things.
Oh, it's so realistic. Wait,
We were actually falling about laughing at that because they put Jack Haig together with Monsieur Alphonse as well, didn't they?
Yes.
And they put them in the... First of all, you saw the ducks going along the pissoir.
yes.
And then you saw the two old blokes. And it was just... I don't think we've ever seen them together.
The
No.
two of them together, there's
Anywhere
two
in the world.
faces, and both of them gurning
And
like
they
nobody's
looked
business.
as if they were having the time of their lives
did,
together,
yes.
actually, didn't they? Which is nice, because sometimes you sort of felt that...
There might be a frisson,
yeah, but there wasn't at all.
which we never discussed. When we did an episode or two ago, we were talking about the dreaded circular saw. And do you remember, it was in a sawmill,
Yeah.
and there was a circular saw that was aimed between the legs of Jack Haig and Gordon Kay.
Yes.
And do you know why they wrote that scene? Because they were always trying to pull focus and get into each other's shots or get close-ups. So they tied them up, facing each other, so that they couldn't actually do anything to each other. And it was, the whole thing was set up entirely to stop Jack Haig competing with Gordon Kay.
I do love it. I love it when you find out these things that the writers have gone,
Yes.
we'll teach them a lesson,
Yes.
or let's do this for a laugh.
I think there had been a couple of occasions where one of them had moved a monitor so that he could keep an eye on what he was doing. And David said, "I've got it. I've got the answer. I'm going to tie them up next week." But these two seemed to enjoy working together, didn't
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, and it was a lovely moment too, I thought, when Bertorelli came in and
they? Well, you knew someone was going to come in, and of course it had to be Bertorelli, didn't it? It was
Yes.
either going to be Crabtree or Bertorelli.
but I hadn't actually gone as far as realising that he was going to shoot
Kill
the duck.
the long distance duck.
Yes. Oh.
And the reason for that, for our dear listeners, who haven't
Listeners.
actually listen, I haven't any.
Oh, yes, you
I can't
have.
speak anymore. I haven't had any gin
And we haven't
yet.
started on the gin.
No, you have had Prosecco.
That was ages ago.
Oh, it's
It was.
time to open the Portuguese gin.
Yes, I
I
think
think
so.
so.
That's right.
I think it is, yes. I've been on holiday to Portugal and I brought home a special bottle of gin.
And it's called
Foxtail
Foxtail and Melon Gin, and it's
melon gin. And the slug advertising slug line on the box was "What the fox?"
That's
What the fox?
That's Portuguese, isn't it?
Yes, Portuguese.
I wonder what that means in English.
What the fox?
Oh, pardon me.
Can you stop speaking as chair, please?
Sorry.
Speaking as
Sorry.
Speaking as the junior editor.
That's right. We've now got a proper editor.
It said the gin is one in a melon.
One in a
And I
melon.
thought that was
Oh,
rather
yes.
clever too. So
I do love the fact that foreigners are better at using our language, making fun of our language than we are.
Yes.
It's a bit like Allo'Allo, really, isn't it?
I suppose so.
Yes. Of course, we are assuming that they're Portuguese. They might have been English people who live in Portugal.
Well, it's always possible, but I mean, it was just, yes, ordinary Portuguese gin bought in an ordinary Portuguese supermarket. There was not, it wasn't a specialist shop or anything.
So that brings us on to the map room scene. And you were in that, Guy, so I think you're the one who should talk about it.
I was going to say earlier, when I was rudely interrupted, the map room scene was where we were introduced with the wonderful third use of the hand on hip gag
Yes.
to the fabulous Ken Morley, who was already very well known. Was it?
No, this is before.
Oh, was it before? Oh, I'm sorry, but yes, he became. We didn't,
Reg Holdsworth in Coronation Street.
Reg Holdsworth in
Yes.
Coronation Street, and we didn't know at the time, but he was going to become a gay friend of Gruber, because they were going to admire artworks together, and they discovered indeed the cracked vase with the big daisies by Van Gogh behind another painting in the chateau, in the Colonel's office.
But more importantly, didn't he do a hand on hip gag?
He did the hand on hip gag, which was the third use of the hand on hip gag.
Yes.
The foaming sweets was rather good, that everybody
Foaming
ate
at the
them.
mouth.
Of
yeah.
course, beautifully set up again. They kept planting things that paid off quite soon. And
Yeah.
the sweeties, offering the sweeties round, and
Yeah.
we all know what's going to happen.
Ooh, sweeties, would you like? Thank you.
Yes. And in fact, it could have gone one of three ways, couldn't it? The foaming, killing, or paralysing.
Yes.
It could, because as Mimi said, it's so easy to mess up the one pill with another.
The resistance gave her so
gave
many
her so
pills.
many.
She didn't know which one was which.
Or really care.
Yeah.
Either it would
She was actually quite pleased.
either it would kill him or it would paralyse him, one way or the
I
other.
think she was quite disappointed, wasn't she, when she realised that
Yes,
he
he
was
was
still
only- he
alive,
was
and she said,
only-
"Oh well, it looks like it was the paralysing pill." then."
Oh, well, you win some, you lose some. Yes.
And I loved Mimi, who was the first one who was supposed to do the foaming at the mouth and collapse on the floor and have a fit, and nobody noticed at all. She screamed and fell on the floor and writhed about, and nobody noticed.
Yes.
And she had to get up and do it again.
Yes. Not Mimi,
Sorry, Edith.
Edith.
Yes.
And do not look at the map, I rather liked as well, where the servants who were serving the wine and the food and everything were told that if they got within 6 feet of the table, they must look at the ceiling,
Yes.
so they didn't look at the secret map that
Or
René
they would
was
be-
actually going to
or they
take
would
a
be shot.
photograph of. Yes. And so there is actually one point where General von Klinckhoff and goes, "Do not look at the map," to René, who then pours wine alongside somebody's glass. It just goes straight down on the floor. And then he goes off and pours some
And he
more
didn't
wine.
make too much of it,
No.
did he? He just got the tone exactly right. Oh, and speaking of the
Disguised.
general, when he was sitting in the cafe and he was so still, I said, "That's an extra and they've asked him to act and he's really self-conscious." And then we realised he's dead. So no wonder he was a bit wooden.
And
He was actually very good.
I was going to say, at that point you realised how good he was.
That's right.
He was, sit there and look dead, and he
Yeah.
did,
He's
and
so
for quite a long time.
Yes. And do you get paid as an actor or an extra if you do that? Because if you don't talk...
If you don't talk, I think you're just a supporting artist.
Yes. I mean, he risked breaking his nose as well.
Yeah, that too.
Stop, whoa, yes, wait a minute, Mr. Postman. Wait.
Some of our more sharp-eyed listeners may have noticed that Guy and I have swapped places. And the reason for this is that Guy is going to read a letter, and it's on the laptop, which is over there.
Which is here. And this letter is from Diogo,
Who's a regular correspondent,
who is
isn't he?
indeed a regular correspondent we've heard from before. Richard answered this letter, but I'm going to now answer it publicly.
I hadn't noticed that they'd changed places.
She drinks.
They look much the same. Hi, Richard, Guy, and Kim. Still loving the podcast, still listening. I thought you'd like to know that even though David Croft did not write any of Steptoe and Son, as you said in a recent pod, he did direct one of their most famous episodes. It was the one where they split the house in half because they can't agree on the new furniture and wallpaper. For my money, it has one of the funniest scenes in sitcom history. The scene where they can't agree on what to watch on TV because they each have half the set on their side of the house. They've agreed that each one of them gets to pick what they watch on alternating days. Harold says, "I have the law of contract on my side." And Albert says, "I have the knobs on my side." Brilliant comedy. Don't know why David only directed that one episode. Maybe he was subbing for someone at the last minute. Love the podcast. Love you all. Diogo. Thank you, Diogo. I will read Richard's reply, which is, "Hi, Diogo. That's fascinating. I never knew that and will definitely seek out that episode. I think David was a staffer in the light entertainment department."
In the what?
In the what?
In the light entertainment department.
Better.
Thank you.
Don't
Faster
want bullying accusations in the workplace. do we?
faster and funnier. And worked on things like Hugh and I and Up Pompeii. He wrote a lot of Hugh and I, didn't he? As well
He's
as
only
directing.
directed them.
I think he wrote. It may be that they put him on to that one because none of their usual directors was available. Or it may have been that he was a trainee and they were trying him out on a solid, long-running show. I will definitely run it by the others. I'm reading exactly what Richard wrote. I will definitely run it by the others. Thanks for continuing to listen, and glad you're still enjoying it. We're getting the hang of the YouTube videos now, and after the next one, they are much more sharp and glamorous.
Let's hope this one is.
All the best, Richard.
And also, we are going to start doing smaller little excerpts on YouTube.
Shorts.
Shorts.
Shorts, they
summer.
call them.
Time for shorts.
Yes.
It's coming up to summer.
So, yeah.
For those of us who have even remotely passable legs.
His
And
legs are all right. I've seen
we-
them in fishnets. They're not that bad.
We really appreciate you writing in, don't we?
Yes, we do.
And listening and just taking part and being in our kitchen.
Yes.
It's very important to us. And if you enjoy the show, do remember to follow us because it really
Follow.
helps.
Yes.
If
Yes,
you
please
press follow, it's very good for us because it gets some sort of algorithm. I don't know about any of this.
Algorithm
But-
thingy
but
that
it-
we don't understand.
Yes.
Social media.
But it's
Yeah.
really
Apparently
important.
it's-
Please do if
apparently
you
it's
can.
good.
We are a bit analogue round here, aren't we? We're just getting the hang of all
We are.
this.
It's to do with age.
Yes.
Thank you so much for watching and
Well-
listening again.
I was going to say the same thing. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and we'll be back.
After gin. Bye.
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 So, if you have any questions,
For answers
Or stories for
Kim,
Guy
or Richard,
contact us on
Pod at
Helga.
Gruber.
.com. That's pod at helgagruberflick.com.